Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on News at Prime. Now, the state capture inquiry will send Volume 5, the final part of the report, electronically to President Cyril Ramaphosa tomorrow evening. The final installment was, by court order, meant to have been delivered on Wednesday. The Commission of Inquiry has submitted its findings in part, which dealt with the rot in various government institutions. The highly anticipated report is expected to detail outstanding issues, which include the SABC and State Security Agency affairs. On Monday, the Commission's chairperson, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, will hand over the report in a formal ceremony to President Ramaphosa at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. For more on this, we're joined by former Public Protector Advocate Thuli Madonsela. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Perhaps we should start from the bottom, really, just detailing your article that you wrote, in which you allege that the theft at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm is important, but the narrative appears to be clouding attention from state capture accountability in light of the arrest of Atul and Rajesh Gupta in Dubai. Should we strike a balance, or are we implying one is more significant than the other?
And good evening, Paul and listeners. Thank you for the privilege. I think a balance would be the best approach. The theft at the president's house happened 2 years ago. It was reported to the police on the 1st of June, and the Gupta arrest was on the 2nd of June. If you look at the balance of the public narrative, we seem to be more concerned about the theft of the president's own money than we are concerned about the theft of our own money and the hijack of our democracy by those who allegedly did so under state capture.
And the president's own money could very well, allegedly, be our money if found that there were breaches in terms of, speaking to SARS and perhaps it could have been taxpayers' money. Those are all just allegations around it.
Well, all of those are speculations. What is in the public domain does not even give us a justification to think that it was money laundering. You know, when money is laundered, you say it came in through a dated process and it was cleaned up through a legitimate process and came out on the other side. At this stage, all we know is that there was a certain amount of money, which even Mr. Fraser himself in the affidavit doesn't know how much it was. We know that it was foreign currency, which of course is a red flag from a legality point of view. But beyond that, we haven't been given enough information to chew on. The good thing is that the president did report this to his security detail, which I would have done the same if this happened to me. And he has said he is prepared to collaborate or cooperate with the law enforcement agencies going forward.
So you say you would have also done the same, as opposed to going to a police station and, getting a case number, that reporting to your own security would have been the better option. But also, don't you think that the distraction would have been a little less had the president come out in much more detail, more assuring ways, perhaps speaking to the lines of declaration and compliance with SARS, because even he says the money is far less than what's been reported in the media, giving us an indication that he knows exactly how much money may have been involved here.
Certainly. I don't know whether the president needs to give us more than he has given. Firstly, he has already told us that there was money. Secondly, that it was from the proceeds of a sale. And then thirdly, then to say, given the fact that this is now the subject of criminal proceedings, the rest of the information will come through that process. Would this matter have gone away had we received more information? I doubt. It just seems to me that a lot of the narrative is controlled somewhere else, which is what worries me about the possibility that this, being a legitimate concern, might be a dead cat. Because a dead cat doesn't mean that it's not a legitimate concern. It's just that a dead cat is thrown in at an opportune moment. Look at this particular case. The Guptas are arrested on the 2nd, and on the 1st, this is reported to the police. And we know with arrests that it often is not just pouncing on you, it's a process. And one is left wondering whether by the time this matter was reported, it was already known that the Guptas were in the process of being arrested, and therefore the public narrative, Parliament was seized with this matter by people themselves who are being investigated by the police, who have been charged. But Parliament was made into a circus over this matter. And therefore that does worry me, that we're being managed from somewhere else, and we will end up being little pawns in the chessboard of those who don't want to be accountable.
Being managed from somewhere else. Advocate, what do you mean by that?
But if it's true that the public narrative is controlled by those who are implicated in state capture, if it's even possible that Bell-Pottinger functionaries regrouped and they're supporting this new public narrative, then it is possible that the court of public opinion that we need to push for accountability on state capture will be weakened, because left, right, and center we will be made to focus on other things. And I'm not saying we should forget about law enforcement. I'm just saying let's be vigilant that we're not deliberately sidetracked.
Now, just as you were about to leave the office in 2016 as public protector, you released the 355-page report entitled State Capture, a real game changer that perhaps threw a bright light on the underbelly of corruption in South Africa. Tomorrow evening, the State Capture's inquiry's final report will now be submitted to President Ramaphosa. What are your feelings, your thoughts around its finality?
Like every South African, I anticipate the final report with much hope that finally we'll get a sense of whether or not our democracy was hijacked. And I'm not too concerned about the money that was stolen, even though that's a huge source of concern. But what we should also be equally concerned about as South Africans is that if these allegations are true, then our democracy was stolen. Our democracy was hijacked. Instead of us being governed by public representatives on the basis of our constitution and the documents they presented to us as their promise to us, we actually ended up being governed by a bunch of people for the purposes of hijacking our institutions for personal gain and to avoid criminal accountability.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much, Professor Thuli Madonsela. Thanks for your time and weighing in on this discussion.